So, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule because I know you're working heaps over this
Thank you for
lockdown
having me.
period to
Mm.
talk to me and catch up about netball and life. And
Mhm.
obviously, first of all, how are you going? How are you coping with lockdown in Sydney?
Yeah. I think compared to some other countries across the world, including New Zealand, the restrictions aren't so bad here. We're at level three, and so like restaurants and cafes are still open. We just can't sit down and eat there. So when you do order food, you have to take away. Barbershops are still open. Uh, Takeaways, and yeah, and obviously your essential um, your essential places like your hospitals and your supermarkets, obviously they remain open through the whole thing. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's been good personally. Like I think about what has been happening across the world, and there's a lot of people far worse off than me, indirectly and indirectly affected by the coronavirus. People are losing jobs, and their loved ones and family members are being uh, compromised with their health, and so
Yeah.
I'm still working, and really, I'm my social life has taken a bit of a hit. But when you think about it all, I have nothing to be complaining about. I'm very
Yeah.
grateful for the position that I'm in. What about you?
Yeah, as you know, New Zealand is in level four lockdown
Hmm.
for another week. So we come out of it
Yeah.
next Monday, the 27th of April. I'm still working, not at Air New Zealand, but at another job,
Okay.
which is a temporary sort of replacement until I find one, sorry, until I understand what is happening with my job at Air New Zealand. But like you said, I'm got nothing to complain about. I still have an income. I still
Mhm.
have food on the table and a house to sleep in and a bed to sleep in. So I'm very much fortunate compared to others around the world who are losing
Mm.
loved ones.
Mm.
So I'm very lucky in that regard. But in
Mhm.
terms of your work, has it picked up since this whole coronavirus happened, or are you
Yes.
still sort of
Mm.
it has?
Yeah, it has. So I work in insurance for New South Wales government agencies. So when we talk about coronavirus, we talk about the business interruption, event cancellation type claims. So we've been really busy. But yeah, again, like I I can't complain. I can't be ungrateful for
Yeah,
where I am. Mm,
that's good.
yeah.
Well, we'll get to a more lighter note and talk about netball. And netball has obviously been a huge part of both of our lives, and we've that's how we met by playing netball. I
Mhm.
think we started playing together about 10 years ago or 11 years ago. Um, what would what would be your sort of fondest memory of your netball career this far, aside from obviously the Cadbury series, which we will probably talk about
Touch on later.
soon?
I think for me personally, it's really the opportunity to meet really, really cool people. Like the tournaments and the competitions, the netball itself. It's great. Like I love the game. I wouldn't play it if I didn't. But when I think about the relationships that I've made through that process and through playing, that's by far the most rewarding um, component to me about being a part of netball. Yeah. What about you?
Yeah, I'm exactly the same as you. I think the netball itself is great, and I will always have a passion for the game. But the biggest thing, or the thing that means the most to me that I've taken away from netball, is the relationships and the friendships that I've formed over the last 10 or so years. That is the biggest blessing that has come out of netball for me. But did you always play netball growing up, or because I do understand that you used to be quite involved in athletics when you were in high school?
Yeah. So netball was actually the first sport I took up and started playing. I was 9. I was playing in primary school in 1990. Oh, I probably shouldn't. And I played in intermediate as well. And then, unfortunately for me, there was no pathway. There was no net pathway for boys in college to play netball. So that's when I took up athletics and other sports like basketball, volleyball, and tennis. And I was very, very average at those, but it was the sport that, the sport kept me occupied and kept me out of trouble.
Sure.
And then, yeah, it just so happened that I became good friends with someone in college who had male cousins and uncles who played like adult men's netball. And so that was sort of my exposure to men's and mixed netball.
Yeah, and you spoke about pathways, not sort of having a pathway when you were grown up.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen that pathway evolved over the last couple of years? Have you seen the pathway a bit more easier for young boys coming through high school, sorry, intermediate school that wanting to
Mm-hmm.
play netball and continue to play netball through their schooling life?
Yeah. So I know, like after Cadbury series, there was um, articles out just showing a sort of a rise in younger boys and younger men wanting to play netball and playing netball. So um, I think uh, I think it has. I think there is an awareness there, and boys know or they have access to opportunities to play netball. I do think there is still a long way to go in terms of giving um, younger boys the opportunity to progress as they grow old, like get older. And I like for me particularly, there was that gap between playing in primary and intermediate, and then straight into men's and mixed netball. So there is a bit of a gap in between still, as far as I'm aware. So
Oh.
I mean, yeah, we've got a long way to go, but there is. I mean, it is growing, so that's promising. Mm.
Yeah, I think that's the most important thing is
Mm.
that the men's netball side of the game is growing and it's gaining a lot more traction.
Mm.
So you just spoke about the Cadbury series, and that was one topic that I would love to talk to you about. We were very lucky enough to be involved in the Cadbury series last year in June, and you were lucky enough, but also deservingly, our captain for that team. How
Thank
did
you.
that sort of captaincy, or how did you take that captaincy leading into the Cadbury series?
Um, for me personally, it was quite easy. um, when you look at the team that we had a wealth of experience in amongst the group. Some who have been captains and leaders in their own regions, and in some cases for the country previously. So um, I didn't have to do much as a captain because everyone on board knew what was expected of them, and it was really just saying bits and pieces here and there, and what and what our coaches and management wanted from me really. But yeah, it was scary. I'm not someone that likes to speak a lot, um, and I'm not one for words most of the time. But I really had to just overcome that fear and just take on that responsibility. Um, but yeah, it was such a tremendous honor,
Yeah.
and I will remember it for a very long time. Um, for hmm, yeah.
And did the idea of playing the Silver Ferns and also Fiji Pearls and the All
Mhm.
Stars team in front of a live crowd, did that live up to your expectations, or did it exceed your expectations of what that feeling would feel like in the moment?
I think initially, when because we played the Pearls first, it was sort of a mixed response. So like while we're on court, we're playing, and then I don't know, there were like silences every now and then, and I think people really just took in what they were seeing, and that men are pretty good at netball. So um, for me, I was nervous. I was so nervous. Um, But as the game went on and as the days went on, it just became business as usual for me.
Sure.
like we were picked for a reason, and it was just about showing what it is that we could do. I mean, for for you, I mean, you're in a similar boat to me, where we've been through a lot of competitions together. How did Cadbury compare to what it is that we've done before?
Oh, it definitely exceeded my expectations. It was
Mm,
sort of the pinnacle event in my career thus far,
mm,
and the biggest tournament that I've played in throughout the entire years of me playing netball. But like you said, we were extremely honoured to be a part of that series, and so
mm,
thankful to Nolene Totoa and Netball New Zealand for allowing, or I guess, having the courage to
mm.
have a tournament where men's netball would be showcased. So yeah, it was very, very humbling to be in a environment like that, and something that I'll never forget. Um, we I'm not sure if everyone knows, but in our trainings leading up to Capri Series, we were lucky enough to, or very fortunate enough to play some young male netballers coming through the
Mm.
ranks. How do you see the young talent of men's netball today? How do you see that coming through?
So I've been around a little while. So I've watched a lot of the up and coming talent, particularly in New Zealand, and it's just as fierce and competitive as what it's always been. Um, so I yeah I managed, or I watched the national final between Waikato and Wellington last year,
Hmm.
and that game was mind blowing. It was intense. It was so close, and like when you look at talent that's on display, you see potential. For me, it's just about putting in the work and making that next, or taking it to the next level. Like if they want to be there, they definitely have the goods to be there. It's just about applying, um, applying themselves and putting in the hard yards.
Yeah, definitely. I guess many people know, but for those people that don't know, that you actually live in Sydney, as I mentioned
Mhm.
at the start of this interview, and you've played men's netball over there, and you've also attended the Australian men's and mixed netball nationals a couple of times, actually winning that tournament as well.
Mhm.
What kind of differences do you see between the men's style of game in Australia and also the men's style of game in New Zealand?
I think one word comes to mind, and it's style. I think the Australian style of play is really hard, really fast, and physical. And it reflects in the way that they prepare for tournaments as well. They train every day, and
Sure.
it's intense.
Hmm.
Um, when I think of how we play back home, there's definitely an element of flair there. And sometimes, like not every pass lands, and the errors creep in every now and then, but I think our creativity with ball in hand is a great asset for us
Hmm.
back in New Zealand. And yeah, to me, that's the difference. We train and we play differently at home, but that's just how we've always played the game. And Australians are very hard, fast, and physical. So yeah, mm, that's the difference I notice anyway.
Yeah. And in terms of idols or
Uh,
influences, or did you have any netball influences growing up, or anyone that you looked up to in terms of your court craft, and someone that you wanted to try emulate out on court yourself?
Not well. I don't think I emulated anyone. If I tried, I was very unsuccessful. Um, I think I think for me personally, I was in a really good position to be exposed to both men's and mixed netball and women's netball. And so there were people, there were people, you've got your Irene Van Dykes, you've got Sandra Edge, Sharelle McMahon, you've got Simone McInnes in one hand, and then in the other you've got the likes of Tangaroa Christie, Rawiri Palmer, Kelly Tangahui, Adrian Rennie. So
Mm.
I idolized many players for different reasons.
Yeah,
So I would if anything, I would kind of twist your question a little bit and say not so much emulate anyone, but my favorite player of all time would probably be Irene van Dijk.
sure.
She's just like what she's done through her tenure of playing is just absolutely remarkable. Her game constantly revolved as she progressed and as she continued playing. And what I admire most about her is her personality off the court.
Yeah,
Very, she's very special.
she is for sure. Absolutely. And you are quite talented well, you are very talented when it comes to netball. And in the Cadbury series, we saw you play a lot of different positions. And I wanted to ask how mentally is that a challenge to go from, say, defense to a shooter in one game? Is that mentally difficult, or do you find the transition to those different positions quite easy?
Well, to be a shooter, you have to shoot.
That's true.
I look back at I look back at the series, and I didn't put many up, and when I did, I missed more often than not. Um, yes, in short, there is a mental shift because the way in which you attack the game is a little differently depending on where you are on the court. And so really it's just strategizing and getting yourself into a mental space, depending on where it is that you're going to be.
Hmm.
But yeah, I had fun. I had fun. I enjoyed it. I've played ball attack for a number of years earlier on in my playing days, and then shifted to the defensive end sort of towards the end and up until now. So I'm familiar in both positions, but yeah, I yeah, I did find there was a bit of a mental shift there. But like I can't talk here. Like you are quite versatile yourself. You cover most areas of the court. Do you prepare any differently before you take court, or are you sort of concerned before you get thrown any sort of bib? Like, do you have any nerves?
I wouldn't say it's a concern. I guess it's just the feeling of not knowing
Mhm.
what's going to happen or where I'm going to be playing is a surprise for me.
Mhm.
But if I am I mean, just to be out on court is a privilege in itself. So if I'm playing wing attack one quarter and goalkeep the second quarter, then so be it. I'll just do my best. But I've sort of always been interested in I guess finding my feet in these different positions, and I can't
Mhm.
say I'm as good as you in these different positions, but
Mhm.
I definitely do try my best. And yeah, I guess it's just the surprise factor of being thrown a different bit in a different quarter is what really gets to me. But once I've had time to settle into that position, I do seem to calm my nerves a lot more. So I mean, that's obviously a good thing.
Mhm.
I realize we've probably been talking for a while, and I don't want to keep you long because I know how busy you are. But
Yeah.
for the last couple of interviews that I've done, I've asked the person I'm talking to whether they have any tips or tricks to young netballers, boys and girls, to help improve their skills over the level four lockdown for New Zealand. And I was just wondering if you would have anything, regardless if it's a shooting tip, defensive tip, mid quarter tip, if you have anything that you could share to help these young netballers progress their skills even further as they try and, I guess, become better netballers through the lockdown here in New Zealand.
Um, I think if I were to think of one thing, it'll probably be to just enjoy it. Like there's plenty of time to come with really like nutting down and taking your craft seriously. But as a child, I think it's important to just have fun and remember the reason why you play. First and foremost is because you enjoy the sport. And if you're not enjoying it, then like yeah, perhaps something else. You might want to try something else. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think just to have fun. Yeah. What about you? Like, have you thought about
Yeah,
what it is? Yeah.
yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, there's a lot of training, like court specific things you can do, but if you're not enjoying the game at the end of the day, then you're right, it's probably a time to move on. And I've definitely felt that in
Mm,
my playing days, but the more time I've had away from the game, the more I actually want to play. So
yeah.
I definitely feel like enjoyment is definitely a big thing for anyone playing netball,
Yeah.
regardless of age, or
Mm,
gender. Enjoyment is definitely a big factor towards having a good game out on court.
yeah.
But I want to say thank you so much for your time. It's so nice to talk to you. For anyone that is obviously watching for the first time and don't know who we are, we are New Zealand players, and Matt and I have been really good friends for a long time, for at least the last 12 to 13 years. And
Mm,
yeah, I just want to say, stay safe in Australia, keep well, and
mm.
if you need anything at all, I'm always here for you. And thank you so much for your time this
My
evening.
pleasure, my friend. Thank you. Take care. We'll
Take
talk
care.
soon.
Nice to see you. All right. Bye.
Bye.